just in case it's your first group call or need a reminder, if you're like, Nicole, I'm so sick of hearing the spiel every Thursday. But for those of us who are new, how this group call is going to work is we're going to open it up with wins. And so you're able to share what good is happening in the business. You don't know who needs to hear it. And oftentimes, I think you guys don't realize how much you need to hear it. Hear yourself recognize the wins, those progress wins, those little wins along the way. And so go ahead and start thinking about that. What wins, what good's happening, or maybe what learning happened this week that you want to share with someone else. So that they don't make the same mistake or are able to kind of share the wealth is what we call it. So we're going to start out with wins, and then there's really no like rhyme or reason. We just get straight into the Q&As. So what questions that you have in regards to the business, employees, customer issues, software issues, whatever. This is the most powerful hour of the week because you don't just have your coach here, but you have multiple coaches and you have clients here who are in the trenches with you, have been where you are, and can give you really hands-on practical advice. So go ahead and start thinking about that. Like if I had a magic 8-ball that I could ask a question to today and get an answer, what would I be asking that 8-ball? And so let's go ahead and start thinking about it. What questions do we have? But let's go ahead and get into wins here today. If you're able to unmute and tell us what wins happening, awesome. If you're able to put it in the chat, either way, we want to hear it. So what good is happening?
Well, I guess I'll start off.
James.
I took my first distribution from my Profit First accounts, which was nice.
Huge.
So it was a majority of it. Now I will say I took a majority of it and paid debt with it, but I did keep about 10% of it for myself. But can I tell you guys how hard that was? I mean, I have this money saved in the bank, and now I'm like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to pull it out. But it feels good to be able to have money there and set aside. And I started it right before I started with Redmond about 4 months ago, only doing 1% in each of them, just getting baby steps going, and then 2% a little the last month or so. So it wasn't a big distribution, but it was a pretty good chunk. So I just can't wait to get to funding that thing full, get this debt that I have paid off, and get to fully funding those things.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
sir.
James, that is a huge win for multiple reasons. Congratulations. And
Thanks.
what you did with that profit is textbook what we teach. We want to take the bulk of that profit and we want to pay off debt. Like that is the purpose of that profit account. But you got to reward yourself a little bit too. And I know that's the hard part. That's the emotional part, but keeping a little bit of that and rewarding yourself with it, even if that means you're moving it over to a personal savings account and you use some of it to take your wife out to dinner. Awesome. Like rewarding yourself in that way. That's a beautiful thing. And so thank you so much, James, for sharing that. Congratulations. So
Appreciate
many more
it.
profit distributions to come, bigger
Absolutely.
ones even. So awesome. Other wins do we have going on today?
Well, I've got a kind of a unique win, I guess. I don't know if it's going to be classified really as a win, but I'm going to share.
Go for it. We take those too.
So yesterday I had to let a problem employee go. And it feels so much better this morning.
Scott, was it Rick?
It was.
That's his business partner.
And I feel so much better. No. It's not anything that's fun to do. And so I've put off what needed to be done. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe some of your older guys can relate, but if you have a kid and they start driving a car and you get used to them having their own way around, and something comes up and you really need to take their car from them, but at first you don't because it's an imposition on yourself and a problem. But so I've been needing to let this guy go for a while, and I've known it, just haven't done it. And I feel better this morning, and so does everybody in the company. So
yes.
So my advice is, as soon as you realize you need to get rid of somebody, bite the bullet and do it.
Amen. Amen, Scott. And let me know if we need to get a job posted so we can replace said individual. Shoot me an email. But that
Right.
is, I love what you said, where it's like, hey,
Mhm.
everybody else is relieved too.
Yes.
And that is usually the case. If, it's usually the elephant in the room. If you're feeling something weird from an employee, I promise you everybody else is too. And that one bad apple can really, even a good employee can be really negatively affected by that. And so congratulations, and let me know if we need to get a job posted. What other wins do we have going on today, guys? These are all awesome.
Well, our job board keeps filling up, which is a win for sure. We're just waiting for some deposits to be paid. We've got a lot of work lined out. But yeah, that's been our big win is our board is full. We're just waiting on some money to come in so we can get the materials ordered and get started. So it was another successful week there.
Yes, Jason. And that's also a learning opportunity, guys. We don't start work until the money comes in. The money always has to be in front of the work. So that's a win in itself, Jason. I love to hear it. Congratulations. I see a few other heads nodding. I think some other people agreed or needed to hear that this morning. Money comes ahead of the work. What other good news
Great
is going
wins.
on today? Yeah, these are awesome, guys.
I have a win. We started our business with our personal cell phone like 12 years ago. And recently bought 2 new phones. We've passed over like all the sales side to one of our salespeople that we recently hired. And I'm free. Like it's like life changing.
Oh,
like
man.
not hanging on to that thing. Seriously, so much more time back. It's so crazy. Can't believe how time sucking it's been carrying around 2 phones. So it's been really neat.
Man.
Oh, I wish that we had like the choir to come behind you in that moment, Lance. It is so freeing. I saw a bunch of head nods coming through of people who have been where you are. And if you have not done that yet, guys, let that be your encouragement. I
Yeah.
promise you it's taking up more time than you even think, having that phone chained to you. And so delegating that is huge for the allows you to focus on your highest and best use. So very excited, Lance, for what's to come, now that you've got that chain off of you.
Yeah, I think I would add to that probably one of the biggest contributors to burnout is whenever your phone's just blown up all day. So one, it's delegating by having an office admin for some of those calls, but two, giving your team a structure to provide feedback. If the only way that they can make things known to you of needs or issues or whatever is by blowing up your phone, that's what they're going to do. So team meetings is another part of that really gives an avenue for that stuff to be addressed, because the last thing we want is for the people that we're working with to get burnt out. And I think the main contributor to that is when you just get constant interruptions from a phone. So,
Lance, are you a fan of hip hop by chance? Dude, because you just reminded me, I don't know if you've heard of a rapper named Kevin Gates. He's from Louisiana, but he's got a song and he goes, it's called Two Phones. And that's what you just reminded me of. He goes, I got 2 phones, and he's talking about like one for his like life and one for his like plug, that's not what we support here at Redmond Growth, just to be clear. But it's a funny song, and you just reminded me of it with the 2 phones, man. Like it was this. It's like having 2 phones. Like in the beginning, you're like, okay, I'm a big shot. Like I'm got a business. It doesn't take long before you're like, screw this, man. I want to go to 0 phones, man. So, all right. Anyone else have anything they want to share? Win related, kind of good news related, anything like that? Cool. Awesome. Lance, how are things going for you guys, by the way?
Well, it's going well. We're seeing changes. We're implementing some of our changes, and we like it. I mean, things are going well. We've made some investments into our business recently, and we're seeing, some of it really pay off. So it's exciting.
Good. And remind me of your partner's name again.
Dan.
Okay. How's he liking the process so far? Is he as involved? I know you're like the primary construction remodeler business guy, and he's kind of like the new investor kind of coming in. He seemed to be more involved than most kind of partners I've seen in the past, which I thought was a really good thing. But how are you guys flowing with the program?
Pretty good. I think I like our system and the setup, the way we kind of have things. He's kind of staying out of my way, but also available for, strategy, and feel like I have a lot of support from him. So I'm liking it, and I think he's liking it too, because, he's seeing a return already on, looking at something that we're busy. We've got new calls coming in. I mean, I think it's working out well for both of us.
That's awesome. That's really good to hear. Cool. Well, if anyone has any major burning fires, they can do that. There's like, how I really want, for those of you who have been with Redmond Growth for like more than a year, you've probably noticed like a change in our group call format a little bit, where like how we used to do a group call is like we'd spend all this time and effort like preparing, and we'd prepare like a presentation and like have a topic, like a teaching topic. And it was kind of like a mini workshop every week where we'd like have a theme or a topic, and we'd do a presentation, and then we would do like breakout rooms. And over time, what I began to realize was like, yeah, that's beneficial, but rather than like showing up each week and like doing a performance for our clients, or like trying to guess what people would need help with, what we want to do is kind of transition this more into like a mastermind concept. We don't call it a mastermind because like that the word mastermind in like coaching and consulting has become almost meaningless. Like everyone's calling their thing a mastermind. What does that even mean anymore? But what I mean by that is like allowing a weekly call to be more of a lifeline for business owners across the country to come and meet with business owners and to get advice, insight, and help, not just from like coaches and consultants, but from other business owners as well. And it's really meant to be almost like whatever each individual who comes to this call every week wants to make this. Like if you've got something with the agenda, or like with our process that you met with one of your coaches and it didn't make sense, and you got a question, that's like, bring it up here. If you got just a general question that you want to ask other business owners and other contractors, bring it up here. And so that's really what I want to make this. I have something like, we're going to have something small prepared to like, just based upon, like for example, like I've been meeting with a number of businesses over this past week, and even in my own business, something that we've been doing in the remodeling company is like really leaning into different parts of our sales process, right? Especially with CMM, the software. And so I have something, that I want to show you guys and go over, but I really want to make this what you guys want to make this. So with that said, Mr. Sean, didn't hesitate or delay. I see a hand up. What's up, Sean?
Oh, I've been with you guys for a year or so. So I want to say this is awesome. I've benefited more from the group call like this than I did the beginning, because it was hard to focus on the other thing because my mind was somewhere else.
Yeah.
So this is, and I'm able to write down notes and whatever from the good, like already reminder, profit first. Okay. I need to focus on that. And then my sales. Okay. Just little things each guy gives makes it a little easier for me to, I get more benefit from it.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, at the end of the day, if I were to distill it to like the simplest concept, that's it right there, is I want to create a space where we're not guessing or trying to determine what's going to be best for like everybody when everyone's businesses may be in different spots. Instead, we're just going to make a space and get a lot of smart people in the same room and say, what do you guys want to know? Or what do you feel like you need to know? Or what do you need help with? It's like your thing. Like you're coming to the table with a challenge or a question or an insight, something that you're even learning, you know. So really, as a guy who's been there for a year, Sean, I really appreciate you saying that and sharing that, because that's exactly what we wanted to do, was to have that effect. So with that said, anyone have any hot questions, issues, insights that they want to kind of bring to the group here?
I'd like to bring up the fact that you guys do so much to help all of us with Google, and Google is such a hard platform to deal with. Very rewarding once it's all the ducks are in a row and everything's clicking right, but it's a long, arduous, continuous process.
Yep.
And I just want to say kudos to you guys. And if you guys aren't talking to your coaches and working on that on a regular basis, you're missing out. We're in the middle of a big kind of fiasco with ours, and it's a lot of issues and problems, but it's brought us a long way also. So just something I thought I'd throw out. I appreciate you guys.
Appreciate that, Scott. Really, really appreciate that. And yeah, that's the Google is kind of this arduous platform to manage, but it's so essential. There's no, like, you know, I talk to a lot of people who have like marketing challenges, for example, and it just because the like landscape is so saturated with so many people saying so many different things about marketing. Like I've noticed that when people for the first time, especially can come into our program, they think marketing is this like endless buffet of like ideas and strategies and things like that. And at least for like contractors, it's really not. There is like a finite set of things that you can do to get more people who need your services and don't know about your company to know about your company. There's like a finite list of things to do. It's like it's like a pretty simple list, and we've actually like mapped it all out. We have like a worksheet where it's like, here's the exhaustive list of literally everything that you could do to market your like service business or like construction company. But all that to say is that the fact of the matter is just Google will always be such an important part of that equation that even recently as a team, you know, we've it's something that we will never stop investing and developing in, because it's never something that's just set. This past week in our coaches meeting that we do on Tuesdays, we just began to notice some changes that were happening to local services. So this would probably be pretty important to talk about to make sure everyone else is aware. So, and Bryce or Nicole, correct me, or Travis, correct me if I'm wrong here. But Google local services are going to begin to remove the unique local service review process. Is that correct?
We've seen that starting to happen. I don't think it's happened on all accounts, and
Right.
I think it could come at any point, but it does seem that Google is, I know it was confusing, guys, where it's like, hey, I could get reviews on Google local services, but the ones on my Google business listing also transfer over to Google local services. So what do I prioritize? They both matter. It seems that Google is starting to make the transition where you don't have to get reviews straight on Google local services anymore. I think they're going to take away the option completely, is what it's seeming like. That could change. And then that just means that you'll only have to focus on getting reviews on your listing. You know, they'll still transfer over like normal.
Yeah. And so that's like a pretty big deal, because like you have this thing called a Google listing, which is a totally different thing from like a local services listing. And there is some similarities between how you rank either listing to get, you know, more attention and to get higher visibility and more calls and things like that. But they were actually like fairly different, because one's like paid and one's free. And so something that we began to realize is what Nicole just said, is that local services, you know, you could go to the dashboard of local services, if you guys know what I'm talking about. And like, if you click the reviews button, it'll have like all the customers that you've marked completed or like booked and as jobs. And you could like press the ask for review button where the Google dashboard will actually like send them a request to get a review. And that would give you a unique Google local services review, which would go on your local services profile and wouldn't go on your Google business listing. That's the organic, that's the free one that you're not paying for, right? But what we've began to notice is that Google local services is taking that away. So I got together with Travis, one of our coaches who's here on the call. And I was like, dude, we need to like do some more heavy research on like what's going on with local services. And we need to like reevaluate the ranking factors to make sure that they're the same. And Travis, I'm trying to find your document in my email. Do you remember the name of your Google Doc that you put together?
I'll just send it over to you real quick.
Okay. Because I want to share this with you guys, because we're still like, this is like this week thing that Redmond Growth is like learning and developing. But like here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to begin to like show everybody this and roll this out to everyone. And what it basically is a like exhaustive kind of list of, if you want to get more calls to your Google local services profile, right? So we're not talking about the Google business listing, the organic one. The ranking factors there really haven't changed at all recently, but local services, we notice a lot is changing. And so we put together this document, really Travis led putting together this document. I'm going to share with you guys. Right. That's like, okay, what are the biggest things that Google like puts weight in that contributes to a higher ranking on Google local services, right? Are we all on the same page with what I'm talking about? I don't want to sound like I'm speaking Chinese here, right? So when someone searches for like a remodeler or a plumber on Google, there's like a bunch of different results that come up just on the one page, right? We're talking about the things that come up very, very top, the Google guarantee, the check mark, the Google local services. And so customer reviews and ratings, heavily weighted. That's always been a thing that Google has heavily weighted in everything that Google does. However, what we're going to begin to notice is that your Google business listing reviews are not just going to carry weight for your Google listing ranking, but also your local services ranking as well. Now it's going to become easier because it looks like you're not going to have to get two different reviews anymore, right? It's just going to be your local, your business listing, but that's a heavily weighted factor. Proximity, things that we can't control, right? Proximity is just a heavily weighted factor. Google's going to rank companies that are listed closest to the person searching than someone on the other side of town, right? Business profile completeness. You know, that's a pretty big weighted thing. That's something that we do for you. That's a Redmond growth item, right? Responsiveness. Travis, can you share with the group what you learned here, especially about the phone ringing? Because this was really big. This was like a brand new kind of insight.
Yeah, so I think we've always known that just as far as responsiveness goes, answering the phone is just so important when it comes to Google sending you more leads. They want to send calls to people that are the people doing the search are actually going to be speaking to a person on the other end of it. But literally how quickly, like whether it took you, 2 rings, 1 ring, or 8 or 10 rings to answer the phone actually impacts your responsiveness rating that Google sets for you. And so it's still answering the phone is it's super important thing, but literally how quickly you're able to get to the phone, it matters. It makes a difference.
Yeah. So like we always knew that responsiveness was like an important thing. But that Google tracks how many times a phone rings and the fewer times it rings means that can contribute to a higher ranking is like a newer specific insight, right? So all that to say is, Scott, I appreciate you saying that, because it's something that is just so important for our kind of businesses. Marketing and call volume is the Google game. And that's something that at Redmond Growth, we will always stay on top of and continually to invest and develop our resources in. So Jason, what's up?
I had a question. So on the leads page, you've got the people have to have a Gmail account in order to do that. On the Google business page, do they also have to be in Google, logged into Google, I guess? So if I get a random person, for example, like we just did some work for my parents, and I told them, I said, hey, make sure you leave a review, and they don't have Google, they don't have Gmail or anything like that. So do they have to go in and set up a Gmail account in order to leave a review for the business page?
Yeah, they would. Now, if you're not wanting to mess with them doing that, what we recommend people do is you always ask for the Google review. So it sounds like you get that, that you always ask for the Google review. Someone's like, oh, I don't have a Google account, I don't have a Gmail. Well, they can't leave you a Google review. And honestly, like, we don't typically even recommend creating one and then immediately leaving someone Google review, because Google's algorithm, that looks like shady. Like, that looks fishy. It looks like the Google account was created for the purpose of leaving this business a review, and they'll typically not ever even post a review. So what we recommend doing instead is asking for the second tier would be like a Facebook review for your Facebook page, because most people, I would guess, do your parents have a Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah. So exactly. They don't have a Google, but they have Facebook. That's like very common. And then the other thing is that a lot of times your Google listing will post your Facebook reviews as well. Have you guys noticed that? Yeah. Like it'll like show your Facebook rating. Let me try to show an example here.
As he's pulling that up, Jordan, I see your comment here where with Google Local Services, calls are like immediate stop, drop, and roll for us, because if you don't answer, you're on fire. And that is something that Travis's research really proved to show as well, especially when people first sign up for Google Local Services. A lot of times you can be like inundated with a lot of calls really quickly. If you do not manage those well, if you are not answering them, if you're not filing them inside of Google Local Services, if you're archiving all of them so Google doesn't know that you're actually booking them for an appointment, even if you don't win them for a job. If you gave them a quote, if you booked them for an appointment, we want to mark them as booked. Those types of things is really like Google is testing you in the beginning. They're saying, can they manage this well? And you will be rewarded if you do manage it well. So that's great advice, Jordan. Everybody keep that in mind. Those are priority.
Yeah, so this is a company that we've actually worked with for a long time. CK Electric in Omaha. He's just an electrician, but he has a lot of great, Google reviews. He gets a lot of calls, a lot of visibility. He has a great completed Google profile. And then if you notice here, Jason, reviews from the web, this is a part of his Google profile. So he has his Facebook reviews. It even includes his Angie reviews.
Okay.
So yeah, I would ask for a Facebook review if someone doesn't have a Google.
Okay.
I think another thing that's important to keep in mind with Google reviews is sometimes we focus so heavily on just the cumulative total of reviews. And so we say, oh, well, I have a ton of reviews, I'm good, I don't really need to do that activity anymore. But another thing that we found is Google really does more heavily weight recent reviews. So it just goes back to, we can never stop getting those, because if somebody in your area has gotten a lot of reviews recently, even if they have less reviews than you, they have the potential to jump you in ranking. And so that never stops being a super important activity.
Michael, I see your hand up. I know last week you had the win of us running that Google review campaign for you, and I think you got 30 reviews overnight. So I'm curious what your question is and thoughts are, since this is a new thing for you.
Sure. So actually, just to update, we got another 12 since in the last
Hell
week.
yeah.
So my question
Way to
was,
go, buddy.
thank you. My question was, obviously right now it doesn't make sense to respond to all those reviews. Eventually going in to respond to the reviews, that's something that we should do. Does that help make them look more recent? Can we target that? Like if I had a slow week of reviews, do you target the responding of the reviews to kind of bring them back current? Does that work, or does it not wait at all?
Just respond as soon as you can. Always respond
Okay.
to all your reviews and do it as soon as you can. That does matter. Now, it's not as important as a ranking factor as like the reviews are, or as like an optimized profile, or adding photos and things like that. But it still is super important. And it is a ranking factor, responding to your reviews. I would just do it immediately. I'd make it authentic. It only needs to be like 1 or 2 sentences, right? It's going to be easiest to manage if you just do it as you go. But then it also does look like to prospective customers, like they're reading your reviews, right? Or let's say someone's in your sales pipeline and you gave them a bid and they're like, let's check this company out a little bit more, and they go to your reviews. Like they're going to see that as well. And if you're being responsive, that's only going to help your brand and like build trust with new prospective customers as well. So yeah, always respond. In fact, we as a company looked into doing this for companies just because it's important. We decided that it was just going to be too hard to do, because in a lot of organizations, like let's say that you do like a large project, you're spending 3-4 months on it for a customer, and then like your marketing company, Redmond Growth, they leave a long review and we just do our best. We have no idea what the situation is or the customer is, and we're just like, hey, thanks so much, but like you maybe as an owner want to write a little bit more. So we looked into doing that, and we ultimately just determined that it wouldn't really work that well, but it is really important to do.
Good to know. Thank you.
And if you get a negative review, let's talk about strategies of, first thing, we want to try to talk to the customer. We want to try to see what we can do to make that review better. That's always the first thing. If that's not an option, or if they are unreasonable, or maybe it's, you don't even know the person. We've had that even happen to us. We don't know who this person is, who left a review. So we can't even reach out to them. Email your coach so that we can take a moment and help you respond to it. Because I promise that you responding immediately to that negative review is going to come off a little bit more emotional than you or your future customers would like to see. And so take a email your coach. Let us help you respond to that review. What other questions do we have here today, guys? Thoughts? What are you currently sorting through, dealing with, stressing you out?
Well, so I know a couple of weeks ago we got sidetracked on Service Titan and stuff for some service-based business. I use AccuLinks for my CRM and all of that sort of stuff. And that's mainly because I started as a roofing company, and it's mainly a roofing software. But I've been making adaptations to it to create more into my construction side. Is there anybody that has a more construction-based CRM with bidding and all of the stuff that we're looking for that's not $1,500 a month? Because it's mainly just me, and I have one other girl that just sells roofs. But I was just trying to think of scaling later and something that might be more appropriate for a construction company or a remodeler than more of the roofing side.
Have you looked at BuilderTrend?
I have not.
That's what I'd recommend. BuilderTrend or Jobber.
Okay.
We're actually looking at BuilderTrend right now for our remodeling business. Now, these, to be clear, like these aren't, I would never call any of the softwares like that a CRM. It does kind of function like one, but the more important components to me for software like that is like project management, scheduling, estimating in the software, features and working with customers, being able to get proposals out to them, being able to track the proposal, being able to manage project and project timelines well, all within the software. So BuilderTrend, it's much cheaper than Service Titan. I wouldn't necessarily call it a cheap software, but James, for your business, that's what I would schedule a demo with them and look into that. I think that will provide you what you're looking for based upon what it sounds like you're asking for. I don't know if anyone else here uses anything like that or can give their perspective. Really open.
Got some comments in the chat.
Yeah.
Lance, who did you end up using? Just trying to find someone.
We've been using a different software altogether. It's like, I'm not sure if people are familiar with like Asana, but we use something, it's a Google product called Basecamp. And I know like restaurants that use it. It's a project management tool is what it is.
It's my understanding of Asana is it's like it's not real industry specific.
Right, exactly.
And so yeah, BuilderTrend, I will say to Lance's point, like it there is a learning curve involved in it to really make it effective. But BuilderTrend is industry specific. And again, the other one that I tell folks to look at is Jobber. James, I don't know if you've heard of Jobber. Jobber's a little bit simpler. The capabilities aren't quite as high as BuilderTrend, but most of the like functionality of the software is pretty similar, like the basics of it. So
And typically any of these, James, have like a trial, that you can sign up and they'll like walk you through it, and so I would just definitely like 2 or 3, look into them, look at the price points, what they can do and decide from there. But kind of to Lance and Jordan's
getting a
point.
Google business profile call. Do I need to take it?
Oh, we love that. Yes.
Yes, Jordan.
So we'd use BuilderTrend now, and I've said before it's kind of complex to use. I wasn't involved in the beginning when we first got it, but I've been checking around. I called House Call Pro, and like they were more expensive than what BuilderTrend is. They've got a lot of add-ons and stuff like that. So for right now, we're just going to kind of buckle down. The biggest thing I was looking for is to help my estimator getting these estimates out, trying to speed up that process. And I think he's going to have to sit down and take some online, watch some tutorials and really get to learn that section of it. So it will help him to be quicker, because my goal is to get these estimates out in 72 hours. And like, I want him to hand deliver them. And right now he's not hand delivering them because he's backed up, and he's backed up to a point where I've thought about trying to help him out, whether it's bringing someone in to put the prices together or bringing in another salesman type of deal. But we do use BuilderTrend, which, I mean, they're pretty good about their customer service, but it is, I thought it was expensive. We're paying like $499 a month. And it wasn't that expensive, because like House Call Pro, I mean, their estimate was over $500, and then we'd have to learn a whole new system and all that stuff. But BuilderTrend does work for what we need. We gotta have to get into it to really utilize it.
And I don't know if I'd ever recommend, Jason. I'm really glad to hear that you guys didn't go with House Call Pro, because House Call Pro, like, they may advertise themselves as like a solution for construction, remodeling, renovations, that kind of thing, but they're really a service. They're really for service companies. House Call Pro, I think of House Call Pro as more as a dispatching software and a service software. that I think of it as a like remodeling construction software. So James, I put oh, that's a great tip. Lance just said BuilderTrend will negotiate their monthly fee with you too if you ask. So ask and it shall be given to you, Luke 11:9, for all your Sunday school Bible people out there. So get Jobber. I put a link in there, James. BuilderTrend, put a link in there. Maybe ask, or just do Google. Check out these, 2-3 companies. Do demos with them, and just see which one you like. See which one makes the most sense. I agree with Jason and what Lance didn't explicitly say, but I almost heard him say when he said too time consuming. There is more complexity with BuilderTrend. That, if you, like Jason's needing to do, buckle down and watch the tutorials, invest the time, you can use that to a benefit, but most folks don't. Yeah. So anyway, check it out. Let us know what you think. Any other questions?
Well, I kind of feel like, Jason, you kind of had a question as we were talking about softwares, where it sounds like right now you're running into a challenge with knowing if you want to hire another salesperson. I know that you and I in our last meeting talked about, are we sorting through our leads? Like, are we spending time quoting ones that we shouldn't? Would you kind of repeat the struggle that you're currently in? And let's
Well, I mean,
advice.
we've got a lot. Like our biggest customer is a property management company that I work for. So we send so that's a lot of the handyman stuff, that we're doing. But the customer still wants estimates, to go off of. So on that side, on that company, we have to do a lot of estimates, and they're small jobs. I mean, they really are small jobs. They're under $1,000, let's just say, and but there's a lot of them. So it's one of those deals that I've got that one guy and he's running around doing all those small jobs, but then he's also trying to gather up some of those bigger jobs and stuff like that. So it's just a struggle. We're small. We've got, I've got 4 other employees plus my office manager, but just trying to we're just trying to grow our revenue, to help cover. We've got a pretty high overhead right now, so we've cut everything back as much as I feel like we could. There's a few things that we can probably, nick down a little bit more, but we're just trying to grow our revenue right now.
Lance, do you have comment?
I do. So we were kind of in a similar situation, Jason. We had a similar contract. In fact, one year they paid us like $1.4 million out of that contract. And we actually left them, we walked away from them. It was too much busy work, too much. I'm going to use that word again, Robert, too much. It was too time consuming. It was just chasing these things that I felt like there were bigger fish out there for us. And so we made a bold move, walked away from it, and invested in like some salespeople, invested in things like this, and basically we're able to make back most of that revenue, but also increased our profitability a lot. And it was a lot less work for us, a lot less like tiny little things, a lot of nitpicky stuff that we weren't dealing with anymore. We were able to get a little bit leaner too on our like administration side. And now we've made up for that revenue. And then I just found out that company actually went out of business recently this year. So I don't know, if I could just encourage you with something, it would be to, follow your gut, go after it,
Okay.
Wow. That's hugely valuable, Lance. Thanks for sharing that.
Yes. Yeah. And businesses come in seasons. Jason, I think we're in a season with your company where you've got a lot of leads and we can really say no to handyman stuff. I had a client the other day that just decided anything under $5,000, they're not quoting anymore because they have so much opportunity elsewhere. And so I think sitting down with your salesperson and determining that, because I would much rather see you guys giving less estimates and really having a kick-ass sales process where we're getting estimates back quickly and we're presenting them in person and we're giving multiple options to those ideal jobs compared to trying to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And
Right.
it's kind of hard to switch into that mindset, especially if you've been in the stage in your business where it's like, we've got to quote everything. And so transitioning to that, hey, we don't have to quote everything anymore. Let's really focus on our ideal jobs and kick ass with our sales process for those ideal jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really I feel like more and more this is a area of like focus that we're really helping people in. And it's it's part of the reason why I love like contracting and construction businesses with a little bit of what I would call like a longer term sales cycle. So so the main things I'm trying to contrast that against is like a service business. You get a call, there's like a customer has something broken with some sort of part of their infrastructure, electric, HVAC, whatever, plumbing. Send a tech out, they do a diagnostic and they do the job either that day, maybe it's a bigger job. But it's like a very short sales cycle. But the thing that I love about like remodeling is that it really doesn't take many opportunities to build like $1 million pipeline, for example. And in order to get there, it requires being really good at identifying what jobs are not worth our time and what customers aren't worth our time and which ones are. It's really common for, as just to get into flow as an entrepreneur that like every call we get, we feel this like subliminal obligation to say yes, or to like someone is calling us, so like we need to help figure out their problem. When what we really encourage businesses to do is to begin to like stop and ask themselves, like, is pursuing this opportunity really going to be beneficial towards our business? Or could we have certain standards and like a vetting process in place that would allow us to eliminate those opportunities? Because like one of my biggest pet peeves is like a customer calling and you schedule an appointment and then you do an estimate and you've spent now maybe like 3 or 4 hours total just with this one person, only to find out that they just weren't really ever that interested in the job. Right? Like huge inefficient waste of resources, like huge inefficient waste of money and time. Right? And so what do? You get good at identifying who's going to be that kind of customer in your vetting process that starts on the first phone call. And you just are candid with people. Hey, we really only want to work with people right now who are like more serious about like moving forward with their opportunities. Why don't we either follow up or give us a call back when you feel like you're in a position to pull the trigger on this? Jason, if you could, just to let you know, dude, if you could eliminate entirely doing all handyman work, I know that you probably can't, but if you could and just focus on remodels, I'd recommend that like 10,000%, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
There's like no money in handyman. And it's like, we like said for a long time, we work with handymen, but that was like us kind of saying code for like, we help handyman transition to a remodeling business.
Right. Yeah. And that's where we're headed. So I worked for this property management company,
right,
and we needed a handyman. So I started property rehab with a couple guys, and then it just grew. It grew into remodeling apartments and stuff like that. And that's the avenue that I want to go. The town I live in is 33,000 people, so there's only so many of those remodels, but I think we just got to hit the bricks harder and get more work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To get those remodels.
Because even in a town 30,000, you don't need much. You really don't need much. And I don't know if this is a thing, because I know GLS is like a way for, I don't know how close you guys are to like the Grand Tetons. I think it's quite a bit of distance.
8 hours,
though. Yeah, man, because like there could be such a niche for you to be this like mountain home, like second home remodeler, where you could line up and stack up these projects, $250,000, $300,000, $400,000 on these like $1.5, $2 million cabin homes with
Right.
high net worth individuals. And dude, you do like, 10 of those kinds of projects a year, and you're running like a $2.5 million, $3 million business, where you're in control of the income, you're in control of the cash flow cycle, you're operating at the net profits you want. And again, we're talking about getting like, 10 to 15 of those kinds of opportunities a year. And that's your ticket to do it. Now, there's a lot of management that goes into that. You got to look into how to actually do the job, subcontractors, things like that. But what I'm, at least on the marketing and money side, the challenge becomes an operational one. On the marketing and money side, it's such like a doable, low-hanging fruit thing to move into. Like in Power Builders right now in Seattle, our biggest challenge right now is project management and developing our team to be like capable of more, like develop, like we're needing to develop leaders on our team. And that's the biggest thing holding us back. We have plenty of opportunities, and I spend maybe $1,500, $2,000 a month in marketing. Like that's nothing, that's like 1.5% of our revenue right now,
Yeah.
So anyway, just food for thought. It's not you've been on this road for a while, and it's not just an overnight transition, but wanting to plant seeds and maybe help you think about the economics and how to better leverage this thing that you've built, this team that you have, these resources that you have, and just higher leverage opportunities. So, Michael, did you have a question?
Yes. Just going back to like turning down jobs that aren't profitable. I hate turning down work. Is it wrong to, now there's a design aspect to my job. So some clients want to work with us despite the price. Is it wrong to just say, okay, what would it be worth it for me to do this job, and then price it accordingly and adjust the price based on that aspect, as opposed to just turning it down? And
Dude,
if you
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's something to understand about price is like price is this thing that is not ever like set in stone. Like there aren't these rules to pricing, right? Like you can charge someone, $100,000 for an hour of your time if you wanted to. Like there's no rule that said that you could do that. Now that you'd have to have some like high justification, like, like be like a Kanye West level lighting designer over here, like to get people to pay money like that. But you know what I mean? And so just, I feel like some people come to the table with these ideas that there's these like pricing, like standards or like rules or like things that they have to follow. And there are general guidelines, but just get the thing out of your head that like there's this external objective like set of standards when it comes to price that you need to follow. Price is simply based upon the value that you're bringing to offering the service or solving this person's problem that they don't want to solve on their own. And so, yeah, that's like, absolutely. If you're running into opportunity and you're like, this would be an inconvenience for me and my business if I price this like normal, I really don't want to do this. But if they were able to pay this price, we would be willing to do that. Absolutely price it there.
Okay. It's
and
not
you can
unfair.
even just tell the customer that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Just tell the customer, hey, I'm like that's how you avoid the unfair problem, is to say like, hey, I really don't like turning down work, but to be candid with you, this would be like a pretty big inconvenience for me. And it's going to be a pretty steep price if you want me to do this. So here's what I'll charge. I'm like a big believer in that kind of communication with people. So, I'm sorry, Mr. Brace Across.
Pete.
I know we met on Friday, but I forgot your name.
Sorry, Pete Rose.
Pete, what's up?
Hey, so a comment about the handyman stuff. We do it, but I have a dedicated person that manages all of that. He's a subcontractor. He's not on my payroll. He manages all the calls. He does all the estimating, and I just give him a percentage. What do you think about that?
Pete, that is the absolute best way to manage that. I encourage that. I celebrate that. If you're getting handyman calls and you have a low maintenance way to manage those things that doesn't require on a daily basis really any of your time relatively, that sounds like a great solution. Yeah, you just have someone who's running a service truck. You're probably paying them premium, but you still are able to make money from it. That's like beautiful.
Yeah, I just give him a percentage of the profit plus his hourly rate, which is like $20 an hour.
Awesome. And if you can keep him busy, that's beautiful.
He keeps himself busy because he manages the whole thing. So
exactly. Perfect. I love it. Yeah, that's I mean, again, that's like to me, that's an obvious great solution. It's none of your time, none of your resources, none of your investment, and you're able to make money from it. Beautiful. Cody, what's up?
I'm doing some work for a school district here in town. And I was talking with Nicole, and by the way, if you're not with Nicole, I'm sorry.
Oh wow, dude.
But
Nicole is
so
awesome, but like, come on.
Yeah, no,
I'm just kidding.
I don't know
I'm
how
kidding.
anybody else does it, but
Yeah.
they want me to belong to a purchasing order system called TIPS. I wanted to see if anyone is familiar with that. It's called the Interlocal Purchasing Order System. Basically, what they're telling me is if I belong to this TIPS, they do not have to reach out to 3 other bids. They can just give me the work.
Dude, when it comes to like school, like kind of opportunities, I'm kind of like enter at your own risk, brother. And so like Cody, I don't know if anyone knows anything about TIPS specifically. Here's how I typically advise on opportunities like that is if it like very clearly makes sense and it is not going to harm your cash flow, if you're not worried about when you're going to collect, if you know that you can confidently carry the cash flow and you're going to get paid when you need to get paid and you're going to be profitable in an opportunity like that, and it's going to eliminate the competition and add a lot of value to your business, then I would say do it. But just be careful and evaluate. I would tell you to evaluate those kinds of opportunities based upon the money flow.
Right.
A lot of times
it was just alarming to me because to belong to TIPS is $500, and then TIPS gets 3% of the bid.
Yeah. And Cody, just because, I do work with you and I know the situation, I think right now you're in a similar situation with Jason over here where you have quite a bit of opportunity coming in. And so it's like, is this more of a distraction than it is a good opportunity? Like, even if it all worked out the way we wanted it to, is it robbing us from really pursuing the residential side? Is it going to cause more stress in regards to collections, participating in a new system where we have a lot of opportunity already coming to us? So why deal with that hassle? Sometimes an opportunity can look like a good opportunity because of the revenue, but when you look at the profit margin or all of the hoops you have to jump through, it's like, is it robbing us from actually focusing on something that will benefit us long term?
Yeah. Just I mean, I know it's state taxpayers' money, but whenever I told them, I have to add 3% to this bid, they're like, okay, do it. That's all. That's just as odd to me, but
yeah.
They wanted it listed as an admin fee on the quote, which okay, but the school still pays me, whatnot. I just have to belong to TIPS, so they don't have to get other bids. TIPS just verifies I'm a contractor in good standings, but I'm just kind of leery of it at the moment because the bid's $250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'd listen to that, man. So there's like nothing wrong, personally, that like there's nothing that we as a group see wrong with like commercial work, with like new construction, like working for government. Like there's nothing inherently wrong with those opportunities. What we get nervous about is low profits, slow pay, and you having to be the bank, like financing all material, all labor, like everything in the meantime. And then like your jobs in between, it creates this great strain on your cash flow to where it's like by the time it's all said and done, yeah, you make money, but you went through like 4 to 6 months of like net losses and like feeling stressed for that 4 to 6 months, when you could have just found a handful of residential opportunities where you're in total control of the money, and the profitability and the pay cycle, to where it's just a better way to do business. It's like, if you can confidently do that because you have like a service arm, because you have like a residential arm, because you have this like consistent cash flow coming in, to where you could do something that's, the cash flow isn't going to be great, but there's a great payday down the road. Like, yeah, that sounds like a great opportunity, but I wouldn't do it unless you can supplement it in the meantime, which most businesses can't. Tom, I know you've been waiting for a long time, buddy.
Yeah, I'm doing a commercial or a government job of similar value that Cody was just talking about, and it is a little nerve-wracking, like being that far out on getting paid, especially on some of this stuff. But if you just put in your contracts, like you require a deposit just to cover your materials, and like I'm doing, it's a federal job, then you're fine. They'll try and hem and haw about getting you paid, but just like, look, that's what I agreed to in my proposal. Like, you guys have to play ball with that.
See, yeah,
and I got half down from the feds before I even started the job.
Dude, I love that. I really appreciate you sharing that, because something I'm big on is like, when it comes to working with GCs or like, the federal government, local government, whatever, it's like we a lot of times thinking this in our heads, like, oh, they want net 90, like I have to do net 90. But no, like Tom just asked. He just said, this is what I need. Can you do this? And eventually they just go, yeah. And a lot of times you have more opportunity if you just ask. People are afraid of, oh, if I ask, they're just going to dump me and want to work with someone else. That's not necessarily true, So anyway, yeah, again, an opportunity like that no longer becomes much of an issue in my mind, because the only thing that makes it an issue is the cash flow cycle. And Tom implemented a solution to eliminate that issue. So now it's like a great opportunity, Anyway, Jason, you've had your hand. Last question, then we'll break. Oh, you're muted, buddy.
You're muted.
This goes back to the what you were talking about earlier, Robert, but does anyone allow the customers to purchase their own material for the job?
Dude, hell no.
It's a huge pain. Okay.
Yeah. Tom went like this. Yeah.
And we're not even, I mean, we're marking them up maybe 20%. But yeah, we've had people doing that, and I'm about to tell, and not a lot of people, but I'm about to tell my estimator, no, we're not going to do that.
It always goes wrong. They either order the wrong thing, or they order the wrong amount, or they forget to put in the order. It delays everything. Like, it literally always goes wrong. And so we just make it like a blanket rule, like, hey, unfortunately, like we just have never had that go right. So one of the benefits of working with us as your contractors, we resolve all those problems for you. You get contractor pricing. We can get it cheaper than you'd find retail, even with with our markup. We put a markup there for the time it takes to order, to get the materials delivered, organized, sorted, determine how much needs to be ordered.
Yep.
Yeah, probably the wrong customer if they asked on the front end.
Yeah,
Jordan said I totally agree. I totally agree. That's like a good red flag to, that's kind of weird. Do you, I would ask the customer, like, do you want a general contractor, or are you wanting to be a general contractor?
Yeah.
Like, you're asking to do the thing that I do, so let me do it. I know how to do it. I wouldn't maybe talk to a customer like that.
Right.
That's kind of like the mindset. So anyway, well, great discussion. Really appreciate everyone's contribution and to show up. Great questions. And yeah, Miss Nicole, since you're like the best coach, do you want to like count us down?
If I could get everybody to unmute here, we're going to do a big 3, 2, 1 growth. So if you can, I'm going to see those unmutes coming off. Love to see it. Okay, we're going to do a 3, 2, 1. All right, guys, have a good week.
Let's go.